The story begins in a magical world shared by 9 races. Dragonutes, elves, onests, dwarves, demons, dark elves, centaurs, beastfolk, and humans, from whom a young adventurer called Light was born. Wanting to give his family a better life, Light says goodbye to his hometown and sets out to explore for money and power. After reaching a big city, Light gets shoved around by the crowd, but he continues searching for the Adventurers Guild. When he finally enters the guild, he introduces himself to the receptionist, who asks if he wants to register as a fresh adventurer. As he nods, she explains that he'll start from the lowest F rank and then asks if he has a special ability. Light responds that he has an unlimited Gacha ability, which allows him to roll for random cards and summon them. To demonstrate, he summons a broken fork in front of her, leaving the receptionist completely speechless. Embarrassed, Light tries to act like silverware isn't the only thing he can summon, but his next rolls just give him a bunch of rotten snacks. Light feels disappointed that his luck has decided to betray him at the worst possible moment, and the receptionist confirms that he deserves the pathetic F rank. After receiving his adventurer's card, he asks her for some quests, and she tells him to check the guild's job board. At the mention of job posts, Light looks awkward, and the receptionist quickly realizes that he can't even read the board. Feeling pity for her uneducated fellow human, she kindly reads out the job posts for him. Feeling excited to finally earn some real money, Light happily accepts the boring tasks. After a full day of hard work, he finally earns enough money to rent a room. However, a gang of beastfolk knocks him down and starts bullying him as their leader picks up his hard-earned money. Light begs him to have mercy, but the cruel wolfman only laughs before knocking him back with a hard uppercut. The wolfman taunts Light for begging for spare change and coldly leaves with his laughing gang. Even the surrounding crowd ignores Light while he lies on the ground, until a kind elf helps him up. Light gets surprised by the many adventurers surrounding him and backs down in shock. Seeing how frightened he is, the elf hugs him to comfort him, even as the passers-by mock her. Shocked that a pretty elf would get dirty for his sake, Light allows her to help him stand. The adventurers then introduce themselves as members of the Concord of Tribes. A beastman named Garu explains that each member represents one of the 9 races, and the elf introduces herself as Sasha. She introduces the rest of her companions: Drago, Diablo, Obero, Nano, Sion, and Santor. With 8 of the 9 races already represented, Light learns that the Concord is searching for a human member to complete their unity of all races in the world. As Garu reaches out his hand to invite him, Light feels stunned that someone actually needs his help, then happily accepts the invitation. Soon, Light begins exploring a cave dungeon called the Abyss with his new group. When a huge worm beast tries to attack him, Garu chops it apart before it can hurt him. But another worm sneaks up behind Light, so Sasha quickly takes it down with her bow. She scolds Light for being careless and reminds him that they are exploring the world's most dangerous dungeon, where he could easily die. She sits down and takes care of his wounds. Noticing how she's acting like his mother, the other party members begin teasing Sasha for spoiling Light so much. Blushing furiously, Sasha tries to act like she doesn't care about Light at all, claiming she's just protecting a fellow member. But as the party ignores her weak excuse, Sasha only gets more defensive. Drago steps in and cheers up Light, praising him for making excellent tea for their team. With his spirits lifted, Light follows the group deeper into the dungeon. When the group suddenly stops at a dead end, Light thinks they are about to take a break, so he begins preparing tea. But to his shock, Drago coldly tells him that they don't need the tea, because they're kicking him out of the party. At first, Light thinks it's just a prank, but Drago harshly repeats his words, leaving him stunned. Garu also tells him that he's out, so Light asks why they're dumping him. Garu replies that their group doesn't need him, and Sasha even expresses disgust at his foolishness. Xion and Nano also mock Light for being pathetic, while the demons in the group feel relieved that they can finally get rid of him. Hurt, Light asks why they would be so cruel after all their kindness earlier. That's when Garu reveals that they were just faking their kindness to lure him into their party. Light wonders why such powerful masters would even need him, and Drago explains that it was only because of his special ability. They thought he might be an overpowered maestro, but it turned out his ability was trash. Light protests that his unlimited Gacha ability never seemed useful, and Garu mocks him further, saying that as a talentless human, he is just dead weight. Shocked and devastated, Light realizes they were only using him and that it took them this long to finally dump him. Meanwhile, Sasha feels relieved, saying she can now marry her master instead of ending up with the pathetic human boy. Overwhelmed by this shocking betrayal, Light barely has time to react before Drago tells Garu to finish him off. Light suddenly realizes the danger he's in, but as he sees their hostile stares, He understands they plan to kill him to prevent him from ever getting stronger and seeking revenge later. Jeru slashes his cheek with his claws, and as Light looks at the blood flowing, the rest of the party watches coldly. Light tries to run, but Sasha shoots an arrow at his leg to prevent him from escaping. Struggling in pain, Light collapses, and Geru takes pleasure in his suffering by kicking him hard in the stomach before brutally beating him. Sasha finally stops him, reminding him that Light's death needs to look like an accident. But Geru only raises his claw for a final strike. As Light desperately crawls, wanting to live, Geru finds joy in watching him struggle. Suddenly, Light's hand presses against a teleportation trap. Drago yells for Geru to kill him before it activates, but it's too late. The trap safely teleports Light away before the Beastman can reach him. When Light wakes up elsewhere in the dungeon, he is still badly injured and thinks that any monster could eat him at this point. As the cold chill of the cave reminds him of his loving family, Light begins to cry. He recalls how kind the Concord had seemed at first, and wonders why they became so cruel, their cold expressions haunting him. He feels anger building up from their betrayal and confusion at how he got caught up with such dangerous people. But his confusion quickly turns into fury as he vows revenge. Light forces himself to his feet, determined to cut down all of them, but suddenly feels a cold gaze behind him. Turning around, he sees a level 1 Orthus beast stalking him. Shocked, Light wonders why such a broken monster would be here, and realizes that the teleportation trap sent him to the deepest level of the abyss. As the Orthus approaches, Light desperately spams his unlimited Gacha ability, praying for a miracle. At the last moment, his frantic roll summons a huge magic circle that releases a powerful aura. In disbelief, Light watches as the Gacha summons an ancient fairy. Recognizing Light as her master, the mysterious fairy easily chops the monster apart before gracefully landing in front of him. With a flick of her hands, she clears the mess and then humbly kneels before Light, healing all his wounds with her magic. She even apologizes for healing him without permission, saying she couldn't bear to see him injured. Light introduces himself, still in disbelief that he managed to summon the most overpowered fairy in the world. The fairy, captivated by his name, repeats it lovingly before swearing complete loyalty to him. Not knowing who she really is, Light asks for her name. She reveals that she is May, the level 99,999 ever-seeking maid, a super ultra-rare card from his gacha. Light can hardly believe it, saying that his gacha only ever produced junk, and there's no way he pulled such a powerful being. But May insists that he completely deserves her, and begs him to accept her. Seeing her pitiful face, Light finally agrees, and May thanks him tearfully. She then asks to examine his gacha ability, revealing that she has the appraisal skill. With his permission, her glowing eyes examine him, and she discovers layers of hidden protections. May explains that the gacha only seemed useless before because Light was in areas with little mana. But here in the abyss, where mana is supercharged, the gacha absorbed it and boosted his chances of pulling rare cards. She explains the full ranking system of the cards, from extra rank and super ultra rare down to normal and error. Light still doesn't fully understand, so May clarifies that on the surface, he could never summon anything good because there wasn't enough mana. She praises him for figuring out the gacha's true potential by entering the abyss, even though it was extremely dangerous. However, when Light admits he only entered because of his party, May listens as he tells her about their betrayal. Crying as he recalls their cruel taunts and abuse, Light vents his pain and says he only wanted to earn an honest living for his family. May is devastated by his story, and when he falls to his knees saying he'll never forgive them, she silently hugs him. In her warm embrace, Light finally calms down. May tells him that she may never fully understand his suffering, but she will use all her power to give the Concord their deserved retribution. Shocked, Light tries to stop her, but she vows to line all of them up in front of him in an instant. Light insists that he doesn't want to abuse her power for revenge. Instead, he vows to grow stronger himself and punish the Concord with his own 2 hands. May thinks he is too kind for his own good, but promises her unwavering support. Encouraged, Light smiles as she returns his smile. With May by his side, Light begins using his gacha again, summoning more powerful tools in the abyss. Fueled by the infinite mana, giant magic circles surround him, summoning ultimate weapons and items. With May watching faithfully at his side, Light begins the first step of his journey, building his empire in the darkness of the abyss, ready to rise stronger than ever before.